sports fans, welcome to DDM Sports Central, your one-stop shop for your juicy global sporting stories. On today's edition, we are taking a special look at the English Premier League. Yes, the English Premier League and many other major leagues have rounded up. Today, we're taking a special look at some high points, on some beautiful moments of the English Premier League. So sit back, relax. It is thus going to be on the English Premier League. Maybe some other edition we're going to look at the La Liga. Some edition we'll look at other leagues before we get to the beginning of the season. So sit back, relax. We're going to be right back after this break. This is still DDM Sports Central. Don't go anywhere. So first of all, we are going to be looking at the top finishers, the top three. Now, Liverpool were able to garner, in fact, with 4 games to spare, if I'm not mistaken, they had garnered 84 points. They won 25 matches, had 4 draws, and then had 9 losses. Arsenal was closely behind them. Arsenal, had 74 points. They won 20 games, lost 4 matches, and had 14 draws. Then third on the pack was Manchester City. Surprisingly, was Manchester City, because Manchester City came from nowhere and nobody saw Manchester City get into the third position. They were able to garner 71 points because in all of it, they won 21 games. They had 8 losses. And they had 8 draws. In fact, they had 9 losses actually, and they had 8 draws. They were able to gather 71 points to come third. And then you ask yourself, what was Chelsea doing? What were the other teams doing? That's what the beauty of the league. Now, those were a part of the English Premier League. Now, it's important that we note quickly before we go into any other thing that we almost lost our own Nigeria striker, Taiwo Awoniyi. In that game, they played against Leicester City, I think on the 11th of May, if I'm not mistaken. It was a 2-2 draw that the game ended in. And it was a pass for Taiwo Awoniyi to score. He stretched, but unfortunately, he had to hit his tummy against the goalpost. And there he ruptured his intestine. Though he got that was in the 88th minute, if I'm not mistaken. So, though he was given some immediate treatment, he had to be taken to the hospital and he was induced into coma. In fact, personally, I was worried. But then, thank God, before the final game, Taiwo Awoniyi was back on his feet. Okay, for that, I want to say thank God for Taiwo Awoniyi. He plays for Nottingham Forest. Now, looking at the teams in the English Premiership this season, 2024-2025 season, there are some teams that sacked their managers. And trust me, even if I forget any team, I will not forget Manchester United. Manchester United, the whole talk, okay, it was this problem. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't doing fine. They brought Erik ten Hag. And then all of a sudden, Erik ten Hag, for the end of the season, was sacked. And then we all thought, but then I think it was very obvious. If we're very sincere with ourselves, it was very obvious from the onset, before Erik ten Hag set in, that it was not a problem with Erik ten Hag. It had to do with the mentality of the team and then the management. I wish that Manchester United is a team, I must confess, that I love. Well, maybe I should confess now that at some point I was their fan. Mm-hmm. But then I changed my mind at some point when they were breaking my heart anyhow, I just changed my mind. I decided to leave England and support another team. So I'm not telling you what that new team is. Anyways, so I was saying something about teams changing their managers, and top on the list was Manchester United. They changed Erik ten Hag to bring in Ruben Amorim. And unfortunately, their fortunes have not changed, because Manchester United, I think we finished 15th on the log in the English Premier League. So I think it's very clear now for Manchester United that it is not a question of their coach. Rather, it's a question of the mentality of the team and the management. That is one thing I am sure they should do their best to look into. Another team that sacked their manager was Leicester City. Yes, they sacked Steve Cooper. Now, the time they sacked Steve Cooper was almost the same time they sacked Eric Ten Hag of Manchester United. And trust me, a lot of Manchester United fans, because Ruud van Nistelrooy was doing well in some games, I think like 4 games with Manchester United. Manchester United recorded victories. And everybody was like, why did you have to take Ruud van Nistelrooy away and then you bring in Ruben Amorim? You should have allowed him to go on. Well, who knows? Maybe if Ruud van Nistelrooy had been allowed, maybe, just maybe, he would have been able to tinker Manchester United to glory. Maybe. But then he wasn't able to do much when he was brought in to replace Steve Cooper at Leicester City, because Leicester City was relegated. Sadly. So sad. Ruud van Nistelrooy was not able to resurrect Leicester City, and they went down, to the relegation. So Leicester City sacked Steve Cooper and they brought in Ruud van Nistelrooy. Unfortunately, they got relegated. Then West Ham United also sacked Julian Lopetegui, if I'm not mistaken, and they brought in Graham Potter. West Ham United, if you ask me, I do not want to think that West Ham United was not a good side before the bringing in of Graham Potter. But then, their fortunes were better, because they actually did not fall down with the sack of Lopetegui and bringing in of Graham Potter. So, that's of the area of managers, sacked managers. And then top performances, notable performances. Who would forget that Mohamed Salah, Mo Salah of Liverpool, won the highest goal scorer of the EPL 2024-2025 season. He was able to even renew his contract before the end of the season. He signed an extension of 4 years for Liverpool FC. Now, he gave the most assists. Mohamed Salah gave a total number of 18 assists. Jacob Murphy of Newcastle United gave a total of 12 assists. And then Anthony of Nottingham Forest gave a total of 11 assists. Now, if you look at this, you find out that the level of play of teams in the EPL this season, it grew, because initially, I think there was a point in time where the major teams you had in the top 4, top 5 were Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester City, those were the top teams that you were always having. But this time around, it looked like Nottingham Forest was going to do a big job, because at some point in time, they were in third position for a greater part of the season. But then at some point in time, they were pushed down backward. They finished the season in 7th position. So those are the big, some of the high points of the English Premier League this season. And then I will not fail to point out the fact that there were 3 standout stars for me. You can ask any other person, and the people will have their own record of their top stars for the EPL in this 2024-2025 season. But you see my top stars, there are 3 of them. In no particular order. David Raya. Unfortunately, these 3 people are from Arsenal. I'm not an Arsenal fan. David Raya, the goalkeeper of Arsenal. Now, that guy made tremendous save. How many of us remember that game they played against Atalanta in the UEFA Champions League? Did you see the penalty he saved? Did you see some of the other games? I think there was also one where he made, it wasn't just one game, but there was one against Nottingham Forest, point blank save. Some other games that he had some very good saves that helped Arsenal to stay in the game. For me, David Raya, I would have said he should be number one, but I just want to be on the safe side, not to place numbers on it. So David Raya for me is in my top three. David Raya for Arsenal. Another person I will put in my top three is Bukayo Saka. Now, Bukayo Saka for me came back from injury and still showed class. Because at some point in time, Arsenal fans were feeling bad that, okay, due to the injury to Bukayo Saka, a lot of things were going wrong with the Arsenal team. Unfortunately, his coming back did not translate to Arsenal crossing the semi-final stage of the UEFA Champions League. But then, this guy came around and he proved his mettle. So every Arsenal fan will agree with me that Bukayo Saka was superb for Arsenal. And in fact, superb in the whole of the English Premier League amongst other players. So for me, Bukayo Saka is another standout player. Don't forget I said in no particular order. And then I know a lot of persons, a lot of Arsenal fans will want to say that their top player is Declan Rice. And I may not want to argue with that. So I would want to say that Declan Rice is also in my top three players for the EPL 2024-2025 season. Declan Rice was beautiful. It was phenomenal. We will not want to quickly throw away the fact that yes, it's EPL we're talking about, but then this guy was beautiful both at the EPL and translated it into the Champions League. Do not forget that he was instrumental in sending Real Madrid packing from the UEFA Champions League. So somehow I have brought you some sweet moments of the English Premier League 2024-2025 season. Looking at the signals I'm getting, I am supposed to take a break on this edition. So maybe in subsequent editions, I will be bringing you some highlights, some high points of the English Premier League or any other of the major leagues around Europe. So I want to believe that you have enjoyed today's edition of DDM Sports Central. And you will not forget to like, share, comment on this edition and on previous editions of the DDM Sports Central, and also other programs that we have lined up for you right here on Diaspora Digital Media. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Diaspora Digital Media. If you type DDM TV, it will take you to the same bus stop. So until I come your way again with another exciting episode of DDM Sports Central, I remain your host with the Sparks. We do have a lovely and sporty day ahead. Arrivederci. Bye for now.